And welcome everybody to another exciting installment of the Terrorisk podcast.
Hi, happy people.
I'm with Brendan today.
Hello.
It's been a little while since me and Brendan got to chop it up over the mic.
I've been busy having to donate my blood and job searching. It's been rough, guys.
Yo, homeboy's literally giving his plasma away just so he could have enough money to afford a little bit of weed.
Some vape, some MetroCard, a little bit of food.
I mean, look, I gotta be honest with you. Like, I've always said, like, yeah, you know, Brendan could do whatever to get a few bucks, and great, but you gotta admit, this is all pretty fucking dystopian. Like
It's
you
very dystopian when you're in there. I realize after you tell me that. It is. It's just
like people, like, you got these like bottom of the barrel people like getting milked for their fluids just for a little bit of cash so that they could afford like diapers for their kids or some crazy shit. I purposely got a liquor that you don't like, which is...
It's fine. I'm not in my trigger mode today. I got only a little. I went to a show last night. I got a little, and it was hard to not get a little. And it was only because the band was a fucking shanty band.
All right, just to
their whole thing was like, if you could carry our guitarist to the bar and back, on a thing, and they would sing like shanty songs. I'm like, okay. And a lot of the bands were camaraderie, but the other band there was called Apes of the State, and they are a recovery-based band.
Yeah.
So it's a weird mix, and like everyone was accepting. The recovery people were accepting of the drinkers, and the drinkers were accepting of the recovery people, and I like that. That's really cool.
All right, just to recap, Brendan's still in recovery. He's 22 days sober. Yay. Congrats.
Yeah.
And so you know what? Every time I meet up with Brendan, I love talking to him about his AA shit because I'm like balls deep into like Gnosticism, mysticism, Hermeticism, alchemy, and literally the AA shit, like beat for beat. It's like the same shit. Even Buddhism, like it's the same fucking they're leading you to the same place because they realize that's the only place that's going to like cure that kind of sickness. It's not as simple as the substance. It's a deep-seated I mean, don't get me wrong, like without alcohol, yeah, there would be no alcoholism, but I'm saying like, like even the thing is like everyone's got this deeper sickness that's deeper than anything physical. It's like it's not just mental either, because even the mental issues, you could trace a lot of that to like abusive pasts and traumas and a lot of shit, like just bad upbringing and bad conditioning. But even below that, there's like profound spiritual sickness, and that's not that I think your soul is corrupted that causes that. It's being disconnected from it.
Yeah, if you spend all your days and every day getting blackout drunk every single night, you're going to not really have time for anything spiritual or even emotional or mental. Like you're kind of just you become mentally ill if you're in that state. It just happens. Even if you weren't initially mentally ill, you'll become a little bit fucking mentally ill from living a life like that. Some of these people have been living like that for like 20, 30 years and have like liver transplants and shit.
And to anyone listening, like, I don't care if you're dealing with addiction. I don't care if you're like if you're like a sociopath
codependent.
I don't care if you're a pedophile or whatever it is, a sexual abuser, whatever. Your soul cannot be corrupted. Your mind can be corrupted. Your reputation can be corrupted. Your body can be corrupted, but your soul is not yours to corrupt. Your soul is not yours. I mean, yes, that's what you are, a part of you, but you can't corrupt it. It's not yours to like fuck with. So like,
yeah, when people say it's like, it hurts in my soul, it's like that's the thing that can't get hurt. Come on, like everything else gets hurt and dies away. Can't you leave that one part alone? I don't think you can damage your soul is sick. It's
if you show me a corrupted person, it's not that they have a corrupted soul. It's because they're disconnected from their soul. That's a corrupt person. Mm-hmm. It's not a person who has like just a disgusting soul. No, there's no such thing. All souls are of the same nature. The truth is, what really is fucking that person.
The servant became the master.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's what addiction is. That's what alcoholism is. The servant became. It was a great servant. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. Dude, I probably wouldn't have asked the first girl I ever asked out or done any of that if I didn't drink. Yeah, it was a servant for a while, but it's not the best servant. But for me, at that age, at that time, it's certain that it clicked on, and I guess I had the gene, progressive disease, eventually at a point where I just couldn't drink without it fucking almost killing me. So it's like, but that was a servant for a long time before it became my master. And once a servant becomes your master, it's like kind of hard to not remember him as a servant. So you think it's like, you think you can turn the tables again back on it, but you can't.
Yeah. And I also want to point out how...
You just got to leave.
I also want to point out, we were talking a little bit about this before, how fucked up it is that you can't, like, this is a real shit, like spiritual ascension, spiritual growth, tapping into higher consciousness, connecting with your higher self, connecting with your soul. This is real fucking shit. It saves lives, and ignoring it ruins lives. So, but the fucked up part is, like, I can't envision like a way to just make this natural. Like, it's almost like it's like a necessity to fuck your life up really, really bad at some point before you're hit with oh shit, it's me, it's all me. And then it's like it's nothing else is really.
Most people don't make it there. I think like you look at the amount of deaths, overdoses and alcoholism. That just shows most people don't make it to that, even to that point. Most people don't make it to the point where they even walk into a meeting and say, "Hey, I have a fucking problem." Most people don't.
So and that's fucked up. Like, ideally, we could get kids somehow to make them more in touch with their spirit before they ever have to come into contact with that kind of shit. Well, I don't think that works though. It's like going through Jedi trials. Like, you can't be a Jedi Knight until you go through the cave. Like,
in the early days of AA, they would have two different types of meetings. One meeting would be for if you're an alcoholic, it was secret. Back then it was also very taboo, and you had a lot of upper class rich white guys who didn't want anyone to know they were going to AA because they have a problem. These are doctors and people that if their business associates found out that they were chronic fucking alcoholics, like they would lose their jobs. So they had to keep these meetings in secret. But they also held meetings like once a month for anyone who wanted to try their way of life.
Yeah.
So they did it because we're gonna die. But they're like, if anyone wants to try this way of life, I don't know if it caught on that much, but it was, if you wanted to come and just like work these steps and turn you all over to God and do all this shit, it saved us from our alcoholism. Our lives are better because of it, so maybe it'll help your life. But they did get it from a group called the Oxford Group, which was a first century Christian group, just people who wanted to better their lives and turn their will over to God and have like a better life without fear and all that other shit.
Okay.
So at first you just have to admit that you're powerless over a lot of things. It's an admittance of that you're not the ultimate power, and a submission, and then of course like retribution, which would be amends. So instead of just confession, there is a confession. That would be making a list of amends, like a moral inventory. But then there is the making of the amends, which I think goes beyond Catholicism. Because if you say it and do Hail Marys, does that really fix the problem? Like, I robbed my brother. Okay, pay him back. Like, deal.
What do you think about fucking, it wasn't the Gnostics, it was something else. Fuck, I forgot. I was gonna ask you about a certain group. Okay, so what do you know about the Masons, the Freemasons?
Not much. At first, I thought it was just a term just for Illuminati and shit like that, but that's not where it came from.
No, there's connections to the Illuminati for sure. The Illuminati have recruited from the Freemasons.
But Masonry isn't that just carpentry in a way? Building? Mathematics, right?
Well, the Freemasons, the term Masonry is an allegory for building reality, manifesting your desires into reality as if you were building structures, brick by brick. This is how I build my desired reality. Like, let's say I'm poor and I want to be a millionaire. My method, the Masonic way, would be to build that reality starting with your thoughts. It all starts with thoughts. So if you can't even control your thoughts, you'll never be able to control your reality. So that's why they delve very deep into mental arts. Now, I actually looked up Masonic lodges in Staten Island. There's a couple. And did you know that the only real requirement for entry to join like the Masons, it doesn't matter what religion or faith you come from, you just have to believe in a God. Isn't that interesting?
Really?
Yeah, so you could be Jewish, you could be Muslim, it doesn't matter, you just have to believe
That's the same requirement for taking the 12 steps. Like, right? It's just something that's not you.
Exactly.
Believe in it. That's it.
But this is why, like, you got to understand, like, for you it's AA, but I'm saying from my perspective, I see where they're pulling from. They're pulling from like powerful real shit. And it's like it's not like powerful as in you're putting nukes in the hands of people, but it's almost that big of a deal,
It's they didn't come up with anything new, really. And this only came because the one guy went to Carl Jung that was a chronic alkie, and Carl Jung said that he needed to have a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
And he was like, "How do I do that?" He's like, "I don't fucking know."
But Carl Jung had a spiritual experience.
Because he said, "Oh, that's good. So I go to church," and Carl Jung was like, "That's not gonna do it." It's like, that's not going to help what your problem, like, that's not going to make you sigh. Has it helped yet? No. Then you need something more, you know?
Yeah.
And that is, maybe that is a big difference, because, like, I was listening to this Christian guy who's like, there's a lot of Christians now who are like, Christianity isn't really Christianity, and there's a lot of, I didn't realize there was a sect of Christians that are against that whole, all you have to do is believe Jesus died for your sins as your Lord and Savior and you go to heaven. And they're like, Jesus never said that. He never said believe in me and you got. He just said
follow
do
me.
this. Yes,
he said follow me.
And then there was even people who were like, Jesus, I believe in you and love you. And Jesus would be like, yeah, but you're a dick. So if you loved me, you would do what I fucking tell you to. So you can't be like, oh, I'm a fucking sinner, but yeah, whatever. I believe in you, Jesus. That's a cop out. And the real true Christian would believe that as a cop-out. That's just giving up and saying, Jesus, take the wheels. Like, Jesus, like, dude, you have it in your power to not be a cunt at least. I'm not telling you to fucking turn water into wine. I'm telling you to just, like, pay your fucking brother back. And instead of fucking being a lying, cheating bastard, maybe, think about your brothers more. Like, that's what Christianity is about.
Well, in the basic sense, here's the hard part, because like we've deified Jesus to such a point where it's like this comes off as an impossibility. But what we're really supposed to do is not to worship Jesus, but to be like Jesus. Hence the term, what would Jesus do? It sounds so corny and it flies so over the radar, but it's such a profound thing.
And also, no, it's bullshit, because they're not even worshiping. They don't know what worship means. They're just trying to get a ticket to heaven, whatever they think. People that just go to church say, I believe in Jesus, so it's fine.
Okay.
Because that's a cop-out. And that's like, okay, when you do worship, say if you are obsessed with a band when you're a kid, all of a sudden you have their fucking hairstyle. Like, I fucking did the fucking Slim Shady thing when I was in 6th grade, okay? That's worship. That's fucking getting my hair shaved like Eminem, fucking dyeing it, and then wearing that stupid fucking long white t-shirt every day. That's worship. So, yeah, worshiping Jesus would be being like Jesus. That's why you have it. Otherwise, why would you need a human representative of God?
Okay, so it's funny though, like, right? It's not that. I mean, look, Jesus wasn't lying, because he knew he like. Let's imagine Jesus wasn't actually this divinely power. I mean, maybe Jesus knew a lot of fucking crazy like powers, ancient magic that was lost for the ages, but. Let's say for a second that Jesus was a man, and he did say, I'm a man. I'm just a man, honestly. I may be, but then they ask him, are you the child of God? And Jesus says, yes. Jesus isn't saying, I don't think Jesus meant like,
I'm the only one.
Exactly. We're all childs of God. If you accept that, if you understand what you are beneath your body, beneath your mind. If you could see that, then you too are a child of God. The only problem is back then it was so fucking rare because everyone was like barely getting enough to eat. Everyone was too busy being cunts to each other because they lived in a more scarce world back then. So like for someone like Jesus to come around, it's a big fucking deal. Whereas nowadays, if you could see a guy like Jesus, you would just think to yourself, man, he's the best guy I know in my life. We wouldn't think of him as the Messiah. But back then when everyone was fucking brutally murdering each other just for their fucking goats or just for like a little plot of land or whatever, a guy like Jesus coming out was like, what? Like, what the fuck? Like, this guy is like, has every opportunity to rob me and instead he's like feeding me? What? Like, what the fuck?
I wonder how many other people were like, when they saw somebody getting stoned and they're like, it's written, you know, and they're just sitting there watching like, you know what, this, you know, Martha, I know it's written, but like, it doesn't resonate. It just feels wrong. They're watching people getting beaten to death in the street every day. Like, it just feels weird doing this, right?
Bren, that really...
Like, I don't want to go to hell and God smite me, but like, God, are you serious? You want us to do this to each other?
Yo, but that like, literally is the case. Like, Jesus was born a Jew. He was a Jewish guy, meaning before Jesus was born, there was a huge, rich Jewish history of like, you know, enslavement, salvation, rise and fall.
I heard, you know, okay, a lot of animal sacrifice went on then.
Yeah.
Now, Jesus was like, I think the whole
Jesus was the Jew. He was born into the Jewish world where Romans were also like beating people in the street for their gods, and Jews were just letting.
Christianity turned away from. They were like, no, guys. Okay, you know when fucking who was before Jesus? Who were like the New Testament, the Old Testament?
Like Joshua and
whatever.
Israel.
They wrote down the first written law and they took that and this went on for a while.
Or Jacob.
So they said, you know, sacrifice to God. And these people were like, sacrifice. kill animals, and they got it fucking wrong. They're like, no, like sacrifice yourself to God, meaning
Sacrifice
like
your energy.
Sacrifice. We didn't
energy.
tell you to start fucking slitting fucking throats, and God's like, yeah, great. What the fuck is this doing for you? What do you want me to fucking fap to this?
No,
like,
no,
what the fuck?
no.
Like some sick fuckers up there, like, yeah, kill it.
You know what? I think happened.
What the fuck's going on?
What I think happened is you had these priests, right, who understood at first. They were like, all right, let's sacrifice our energy to God, meaning we're not going to worry about war anymore. We're not going to worry about tribal battles. We're not going to worry about like getting slaves. We're not going to worry about amassing gold. All we're going to do is just stay in this temple and worship Yahweh, God. Now, the problem is they do that for hundreds and hundreds of years. They eventually forget what it's like to be a fucking regular person, like to be an actual human fucking being in society, because they've been spent hundreds and hundreds of years isolated in their fucking temples worshiping Yahweh. And then eventually they get some fucked up interpretations because they're so closed off from the outside world.
It's going crazy.
They're like, yeah, it's like, because now that we've depleted our energy already, like by sending generations and generations worshiping in the temple and sacrificing, well, let's start sacrificing the animals within our domain. Let's sacrificing some of the people. Why not? You know, because we sacrificed everything within our.
No, but they really thought, like, you know, it's been going on for thousands of years. They thought if they would kill a fucking goat in front of, you know, whatever higher power they thought there was, and then it would rain 2 days later and be like, oh, see? Good thing we killed that fucking goat. Now we're not going to starve this fucking season.
Okay.
Like,
and
you know what the fuck they were doing? People are crazy.
Yeah,
we're still fucking
so
crazy.
So fast forward, like, after all this, like, the ancient Jewish darkness, right? Fast forward to, like, where... No, you got an Asher right here. So fast forward to where it's, like, fucking... Where you get one day, an insightful Jewish kid is born from Nazareth. And, you know, like... It's one thing to, I think it's just back then, and like in the year like 1 BC or so, it was like very rare to find insightful kids, and it was even more rare to have that insightful kid go on a journey across like Southern or Central Asia and like learn all sorts of crazy shit from like monks and shamanic traditions and all that, which personally, that's what I believe. I believe that Jesus was an insightful Jewish kid that at a certain age traveled to the right places, experienced the right things, had the right genetic stack. Maybe he was just really tall, and maybe back then they just trusted him with like more shit because he was a tall, insightful Jewish kid.
That not existed at all. We don't know. We really don't.
I think my intuition.
How come all the crazy God shit happens fucking before we invented cameras? You know. Like I really think a lot of it could just be stories. Like I'm agnostic in that sense, where it's like I believe in a lot of different possibilities. I believe Jesus could have been a made up character for a certain purpose.
You know why I think Jesus is
not
real? Do you know what? I think Jesus is real for the same reason why I think Buddha is real. Like, what do these two guys have in common? Like, they both got it. Like, they both understood it. Like, they both went through certain shit. So one went through adventures. One went through just contemplation and wanting to seek higher perspective, and eventually got it just from like wanting and seeking, which is Buddha. Buddha like literally was born into like already a spiritual tradition, but he wanted more. He wanted to see beyond that because he saw things not working. Buddha was like, you know, yeah, we're supposed to be like, look, you know, trying to be in this state of like no attachment, but the way you guys are doing it, it's a little weird. You know, it's something's not right. Something's not lining up. It's not fulfilling. I don't feel it's complete. And then he contemplated, and eventually he was like, oh, okay, and he got it. Jesus got it too, but in a different way, because Buddha wasn't born with the same lineage, right? Like Jesus was born as a Jew, you know, and Buddha was born as in a Brahmin family or whatever.
Well, no, what's funny is in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, like every like so many thousands of years, I come back, and as another avatar to help and just give a little bit of guidance, and then I go back. And it's like every couple of years I just keep going through, and that kind of makes sense.
You know what actually also makes sense?
Every once in a while you have somebody pop up and gives a little bit of like a spirituality to people, and that keeps us just enough from killing ourselves.
You know what I think is
without that little bit.
Yeah, to add on to that, what I really think it's about, it's what they're really. It's like I'm gonna come back, as in. Right now, I can only come back as one. There's only space in this time, in this earth, in this version of humanity for one of me. And then, like, I can only afford one of me every generation. But what he really wants is for 2, 3, 4, eventually the whole world to be like that. Because that's the whole point. It's to be Christ. It's to spread Christ consciousness, as in you get a world with like 8 billion Jesus Christ walking around. That's the true point. That's the whole point.
I think Mr. Rogers is pretty fucking close, from what I've seen, is pretty fucking close to being like a Christ being.
That's the wrong way to look at it. You can't look at it as like a one figure who embodies all of this. You have to look at every single person.
I'm just saying, him as a personality, as that human, I think is pretty fucking close to being like Jesus. Like he followed it to a T.
Well, yeah, I could agree with that. What I'm saying is like, instead of like being like Jesus, is like, think of it as like Christ consciousness is a spectrum. Everyone's like at different places along the spectrum, and you could do certain things that puts you further along the spectrum, do certain things that puts you below the spectrum. If you really master yourself and you set the intention to be higher up on the spectrum of Christ consciousness, then you could be higher up on the spectrum, to the point where you won't even look at it as Christ consciousness. You could just look at it as, I'm on the right frequency. I'm subscribed to the right energy, you know? That's really what it is. And this is where it all connects with like alchemy, which is the true thing. Even before Christ, there was this shit going on. Like I said, I don't think Jesus made his shit up. What Jesus did was he discovered enlightenment, basically, and he was able to contextualize that for his culture, for his people at the time, in the way they truly needed it.
Yeah, but he also, it's so like he would pray and meditate a lot. He was receiving guidance from his higher self, higher power. He would go off and he'd be like, you know what? I don't know the fucking answer to that. Let me go meditate. And he would talk to what he said, his father, or whatever wording they used, but just meant, let me consult the higher self. Let me not use the ego for this. And then he'd bring it back.
He calls it
God. He still had ego.
He calls it God.
Because he had a higher self that he was connected to, that he could seek
guidance. He calls it his
and he
father.
talked to it as if it was a separate entity. So instead of praying and saying, I am the higher self, he talked to it as another self, and that separates the ego from the higher self. Instead of thinking, because you could I know a lot of people who you have it like, you know,
you hear the voice of God.
But you get a spiritual egotistical. So now the ego just slipped into your spiritualness and just saturated that with, now, oh, I am the higher self, my higher self. It's like, no. Who's talking right now is not the higher self. So you should talk to it as if it is the Father. As if, you know, yes,
it's above you.
Yes, it's above you. And that is a respect thing for your higher self. It is submitting your ego, God, to that higher part.
Yeah.
You know, so you as Jesus himself would be like, even Jesus on the cross, to show his humanity, it showed that he said, you know, why, God? Why have you done this to me? Just like anyone else with an ego has had that time. Why, God? Why'd she go with him?
It still sucks, yeah.
Yeah. I'd still do it. Why, God? Why did I miss that fucking... We blame God for a lot of things. You know, we get... There's no one else...
I have never once blamed God in my life for anything.
Okay, then maybe it's just a...
Maybe it's an Asian thing. I don't know. I never once blamed God for anything in my life.
This is why I need my AA meetings. If I go there and talk about, you know, how many times did we, you know, sit there and blame God and say, why, God? And then it was our fault, and everyone's like, yep, and everyone would be like...
I never fucking blamed God.
Preach, brother. You know,
I never blamed God for shit.
Dude, ever. It was like one time this chick didn't let me in her house.
Well, do you know why I never blame God for shit? I never blame God for shit because I didn't believe in God for most of my life. So how could I blame something that I don't believe in?
I guess if you do blame God, it shows that you have
belief.
Some ridicule of faith, even though it's shitty and fucking dog shit, saturated with your ego. You still kind of, even if you don't believe in God, when you... But a lot of people will say that in like a lot of groups like that.
And they'll pray. I didn't believe in God. You're about to shoot them in the head.
Yeah. But they'll be like, I don't fucking believe in God. But when the shit hit the fan, so like that, or like when I got pissed off, I've been pissed before to where I'm like, why fucking God? Why? I tried everything. I did everything in my power, and it didn't go the way I wanted it to.
No, I never.
How are you supposed to ask? God is not like you're like little bitch. Like you know.
It's
like almost like asking, why didn't the Eagles take the fucking ring to Mordor?
I never blamed.
Why didn't God just do it?
How about this? Let's say this. A, I never blamed God for shit going wrong in my life, but B, I'll also say I never took that many chances in my life. I took very, very, very few chances like throughout most of my life until very recently. The most significant chance I took, which actually I think was the risk that got me very close with my spirit and God and like, or whatever you want to call it, the universe, whatever, the conscious universe. The most significant actual chance I took where, you know, like I'll say like, oh, I took a chance with this girl or I'll took a chance with this job. But deep in the back of my head, there was always some like bailout plans lurking in my subconscious. But the one time I gave myself completely to chance and nothing but my effort and my own faith was the sword tournament. You remember, like, I was like, I'm gonna shave my fucking head if I don't get first place, and I wasn't sure if I would get first place. That was a pure act of faith. I wasn't even sure who I was having faith in, or
It's like a leap in the net will appear situation, you know?
Exactly. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna give myself to practice and training. And then after that happened, I realized there's something higher than my rationality that I could believe in, and then it could actually do things for my life that I never would have thought was possible. I didn't think it was possible that
You know what? That's another common story in the. I'm relating to this. To
No,
my
no,
recovery
no,
group
please relate away.
because
Yeah,
it's a lot of people would be like, I don't believe in a fucking higher power, but when
This
I
happened.
had no fucking choice, and I didn't know if this was gonna work. I said, if this doesn't work, I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
And then they
It
did
worked.
it, and then it worked, and then they started believing and coming to believe in a higher power and stuff like that. Yeah, I hear a lot of that in the rooms too.
And for me, I wasn't. And what's even beautiful, this is why I'm very grateful. Like, I didn't come to spirituality in a point of desperation, in a point of where my life was getting so fucked. I mean, yeah, my life was like not like optimal, because just mostly because of me, because of my own emotional state, because of my own like biases and beliefs. But really, like, I still feel I'm truly blessed because I managed to find God when my life was not fucking destroyed, when my life was not fucked up. In fact, by the time I found God, I was like I was brought to tears because of how much I actually had. I felt truly blessed. And ever since then, I'm like, listen, if you have even one good friend in your life, you could consider yourself very fucking lucky. Just always remember that, and your relationships will prosper no matter what. And I still believe that to this day. I think if you as a human person have even one good friend in your fucking life, you're a very lucky person. Never forget that. Always believe in that. And that taught me gratitude. And gratitude helps everything. You know, I also think, like, I think about scarcity and abundance. Like, you could have all your needs fulfilled, but if you're not grateful, you will not appreciate any of it. You know, it'll never be enough in your eyes, right? You know, like, that's the sickness of greed that's rooted in fear of not having enough, fear of being without, fear of dying. We all die. We all lose everything eventually. So it's not about like being without. So there's no point in being afraid of it or afraid of losing it. You might as well start being thankful for it. Be grateful for being alive. I mean, one time this guy tried to like rebuff me and say, oh, what? So you're saying the kids with cancer, born with cancer, should be thankful? I'm like, yeah, they should be thankful they got to live it all. You know, what are you going to tell them not to be thankful? It's like, yeah, sorry, kid. You got nothing to be thankful for. Get the fuck out of here. Like, even the kid with cancer is going to think, like, I'm really grateful I got to at least live, you know, knowing he's going to die. Like, if you look at kids with cancer, hardly any of them are, like, really shitty little fucking bitter kids about it.
They only show the on the commercials. They only show unless they're trying to get money off of you, and then they show the sad.
Well, yeah, they're human beings.
They spray them with a hose a little bit just to make them look miserable.
Point being, I think it's like, with that, I think it's like, you'd be surprised what the human mind could get used to, you know. But like, honestly, yeah, it's gratitude. Gratitude is very, 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 very important. Quintessentially important. Quintessentially times 2 important. Always, always, always be grateful. Because the truth is, you don't have to be alive. If you died, nothing would really change about the world. The world would keep turning. Yeah, some people would feel sad, but you don't have to be alive in this earth. Like, no one has to be alive in this earth. We just want to be. So if you
I can understand that feeling though. I obviously have a lot of lack of gratitude. You know, that's why I'm in. That's probably why I'm in a fucking program. But it's like, maybe it's a lot of it's the feeling that like life showed you something that you like finally like life showed you like the possibility of happiness and then didn't give it to you, and you feel like that's worse than even it giving you life in the first place. It like kind of fucking teased the fuck out.
Nah, I think that's a fundamental misunderstanding.
Somebody took your dick out and started sucking it and just stopped before you came. No. It's like I'd rather you have not even done that, bitch.
No, that's a fundamental misunderstanding of happiness. Happiness is not something where you do the right thing and suddenly you're just happy forever. Happiness, like any other emotion, it just passes through you like a visitor. Like I was saying this before, like you got to treat your emotions as visitors passing through you.
Yeah, everyone's brain is different though.
The only time emotions really turn on you is when you try to hold on to them. Like let's say you want to feel happy 24/7, it'll turn into a demon. Let's say you want to feel depressed 24/7, it'll turn into a demon. But once you let happiness pass through you, just like sadness, just like anger, just like any other emotion, that's when you're truly living. That's when you're truly like it's not you don't have to control your emotions. If anything, you have to release control of your emotions. That's how you really master them. Your emotions are just honored visitors passing through, you know, just like, hey, I'm anger. Thank you for letting me stay in you. Well, that was great. Now I got to go. Happiness comes inside of you. It's like, hey, thanks for letting me stay inside of you for a bit. Well, I got to go, you know, like, cause they got other people to attend to. Like, you know, and that's true. That's the first step to mastery, and you become a true mystic that way. Because to be human, as we know it, is to be like locked into your emotions. It's like, oh, I'm happy, and whatever's making me happy is all I know, or I'm angry, and whatever's making me angry is all I know. But let's say you're a human who treats your emotions as the visitors they truly are. You're no longer like everyone else. You're not operating like everyone else. You're no longer reacting like everyone else. Like you're a person who understands you can't control what happens to you. You can only control how you respond. You want a cigarette?
Yeah, I have American Spirit.
This is the podcast cigarettes.
American Spirit. I'm trying to take your Wish cigarette this time. Last time I took Wish cigarette.
I was like,
I forgot people still did that.
I thought you did that on purpose. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man?
I need this Wish, man.
Yeah, so yeah, fucking.
I do have OCD, and I had to pack it 7 times on one side, 7 times on, flip it around, put 7 more times, and then or sometimes I have to do 5 on one side, 5 on the other, and then 1 to make it 11. OCD is a weird fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just like the practice of tobacco, and I think I've gotten like, I think I enjoy cigarettes a lot more now because I actually respect the tobacco. Like back when I used to smoke cigarettes,
You grow your own or something. How do you grow fucking tobacco? You think it's hard? It's probably hard.
And it's probably not
people
the same.
would be doing it.
It's probably not the same as these like super finely
Probably
like,
way easier to like grow weed or something. It's actually pretty much. I want to try it. Grow mushrooms.
It's easy.
It's pretty easy.
Growing mushrooms is easy. You just need a crock pot.
Really?
Yeah, because you could set the temperature to whatever you want.
Doesn't need to be like cold and damp. No, actually,
No, it has to be hot.
It's
supposed to be hot and damp, like hot and humid. That's the idea.
Yeah, it's a misconception I've heard. That,
hot, humid, and
that
dark.
Psilocybin mushrooms don't grow on cow shit. It's a misconception. They're it's different. They grow as regular fungi. They do grow in fields. Next to cow shit, I guess, but it doesn't. It's not the product of cow poop.
No, what could happen is cows could ingest like stuff saturated in the spores and shit it out, and the spores eventually it's like shit is one of the perfect surfaces for spores, or maybe spores could get on cow shit, or maybe spores like to get on cow shit. It's not. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't come from cow shit.
What about those spores that they say is eating nuclear energy from whatever it's Chernobyl?
That's incredible.
Yeah. Dude, fungi can save the fucking.
Well, fungi really.
It's crazy. We don't know shit about fungi.
They're like aliens.
Freaky little.
They're like aliens.
And I feel weird eating mushrooms, like as a food. Like it just, I could do it, but I'm like, it's like complex. I'm like, it's too complex. I shouldn't be eating this.
It's an alien network.
Yeah, it's like eating some like weird,
right.
like alien plant.
All right,
it's not even a fucking plant.
So here's my take. Here's my take on what fungi actually is, right? So I think at some point in Earth's history, an asteroid fell from like this, and it had this weird, almost bacterial behavior, extraterrestrial organism, right? And it came from just the right place that could happen to survive in Earth in this very specific form that it is. And it comes to Earth. And maybe it came a long time ago, like long time ago, but it's not of this Earth. But then once it came to Earth, what happened is like, imagine you have the planet Earth, right? The Earth has its own network, its own spirit, its own like soul, its own like network, soul network.
I just gotta grab my glucometer. I just want to double check my blood sugar, make sure my thing's not acting wonky. You can do it right here for the audience to see. It's fine. Sorry.
All right. So the fungi comes and crash lands on Earth, right? And then what happens is it integrates into the Earth's network, into the Earth's Gaia sphere. And once it integrates, it basically creates like its own network that learns, that remembers things, that gains, that has its own insight, not just of this earth, but insight from its own cosmic origins, right? So when you eat mushrooms, what happens is like it feels natural and alien at the same time, because A, it is foreign of the earth. It's not of the earth, it's foreign. And B, it's spent so much time on this earth that it's seen and learned and stored thousands and maybe millions of years of Earth's like history as like an extraterrestrial being on Earth that just happened to survive for this long. So when you eat the mushrooms, it's basically going on a date. You're going on a date with this cosmic god, biological god that just crash landed on Earth like billions of years ago and made a home here and learned so much here. And every time we eat mushrooms, it teaches us. It teaches us some of like the shit it's seen on its billions of years on Earth.
And maybe that's why, after a while being on the planet, they need to like, okay, let's form a shape above ground where they can see us, because most
eat us,
and then do that cultivated. But also, like, what are they attracted to? And they like look around, people have been
plants
carving fucking dicks on fucking paint walls, and they're like, what's the perfect shape? Dick. And they just grew out of the ground. They're like, I'm a cock, and people are like, yeah, like this is how do you get to a person, like one out of every so many kids like it's obsessed with cocks,
Well, if you think about it, every
throwing cocks.
If you think about fruits, like if you were out in nature as like one of the old early humans, and then you're like, what can I eat that grows out of the ground? And then you see something that's brightly colored, like
dick
red
shaped,
and it's
the best food's a dick shaped
or vagina shaped, dick or vagina shaped, or boob shaped, or something sexual.
Well, they say in what's it called? Superbad. He's like, he was the one kid who had the problem. He couldn't stop drawing dicks.
You have any idea how many foods are shaped like dicks?
The best kinds. Think about it, like or Louis C.K.'s like comedy sketch about it's like we're obsessed with what is a fucking rocket going into space? It's just us trying to more of me. Like men are just trying to shoot fucking big cocks into space and spread their fucking seed around everywhere, and that's what mushrooms are. They're fucking little cocks that pop out of the ground and spread their shit fucking everywhere.
It's also you look
fucking everything's just jizzing everywhere.
You look at magic wands, right? Okay, so tarot cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's 4 suits. There's the sword, there's the wand, there's the cup, the chalice, and the pentacles, right? So the sword represents intelligence and rationality. The coin represents material concerns like family, money, and shit. But it's the wand and the cup that's interesting. The wand represents masculine creation energy, manifestation, magic, intention, intentional creation. The cup represents emotions, represents receptiveness, open-mindedness, being soft-hearted, being empathetic. So it's like it's interesting how if you look at Hermeticism, one of the 7 laws of Hermeticism is that everything has a gender. Everything has a male and female dynamic, like not just like our bodies, like as human beings.
Yeah. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, it's like that.
Yeah, everything has a gender, a polarity, a positive and negative polarity, but it's not like good and evil necessarily, or not just light and dark or hot. It's receptive and giving. That's the ultimate polarity with everything. Like if you look at light and dark, they're the same thing. Just one is more of one thing and lack of the other, right?
Yeah.
Or
opposites.
Heat, or hot and cold.
Everything's just one thing. Hot and cold's the same thing. Like it's just temperature.
Like all opposites are of the same nature, just of different degrees.
Yeah.
So good and evil ultimately are the same thing, just in different degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at it like that, and that's one thing. That's the one essential thing, that all opposites are of the same nature. Now, here's where you build on that. The second thing is that nothing ever stays still, meaning nothing ever stays just light or dark. Nothing ever stays good or evil. Nothing ever stays happy or sad. Nothing ever stays hot or cold. What you can always be guaranteed of is that it's always going to be ticking side to side. It's that you cannot stop that movement. And you can apply that to your own life. Like, oh, times are good right now. But you have to know times are going to get hard. And when times are hard, you have to know times are going to get better. The only thing you can be sure of is this movement. Now, that's step one. It's like that tick tock. It's like most people think they could keep it here. or most think it's just always there. But the truth is, they're both wrong. It's always going to move. Now, if you know the pendulum's going to swing from good times to bad times, right? And you think you don't have to be a slave to that, because just understanding this motion, and that's reality, and that's how life actually is, you suddenly get an extra dimension. Instead of going like left and right, now you could go up and down. Because like, for example, once it swings right and times are good, that's when you swing down to experience everything, to be in your densest state so that you could experience all the blessings that life has to offer. Then when it swings left, that's when you swing up. And that's what prayer and meditation is for. That's within our power. That's why we tap into our higher selves. So like normally humans are stuck going left and right without even realizing they're going left and right. But once they discover they're going left and right, they're like, oh, okay. And then now they go up and down. And once you go up and down, maybe there's another dimension there that we don't, you could unlock, and then it goes up and up. It's always,
it goes from like we to
It's always adjacent too. It's always like 90 degrees.
It's funny because all my shroom trips started off with like, it was like, oh, like godliness, and all of a sudden you're in hell, and then I'll be like, oh shit, get me out of here,
and then you go back,
and then I'd go back and I'd be like, yes, and I'd go back and I'm like, no, I surrender, and then I'd go back. And then I'd be, and then when the good times came, I'd get attached. I'm like, please let it stay like this. Please let it stay. I'd fall back into hell, and I'd be like, please get me out of this. Please get me out of this. And then finally, I'd be like, I don't care, whatever. I'll stay here. And then finally, when I accepted staying in the hell part, I would go back to the heaven part. Yep. But then I'd get attached to it, and once I got attached to it, I'd go back down. And finally, I just said, fuck it. And it was just me, fetal position. And eventually, it just leaves me there, and I'm just like, and I'm neither. It's going, but I'm not following it. And it's just like. And I'm free, and all of a sudden I start laughing and it's like the funniest fucking thing ever.
So here's what happens. Like, this is what's called superposition. So if we know it's going left and right, the fact is, once you're aware of it, like, you could do things within your own life, whether it's praying every day, practicing in martial arts, fasting at certain times, abstaining from premarital sex, practicing semen retention, practicing self-care, practicing gratitude. What that does is, we only really suffer because we know the pendulum's always going to be moving, but for some people, the pendulum moves this slow, right? But when you increase your frequency as in how frequently something happens,
you become bipolar.
No, seriously.
And that's why everyone's fucking bipolar now.
No. Bipolar is different. But imagine something moves so fast, it might as well be in both positions at the same time.
Yeah, I see.
So bipolar is a part of that. So if you're starting really slow and you try to speed it up, yeah, you're going to go through a bipolar phase. But if you eventually transcend that and speed it up even faster.
That's why I have that line in the song where it goes, the clocks all stop, but I'm still here. Abandon hope, forget all fear.
Now here's the deal: when you're stuck in that bipolar, like, the only way to speed it up is one thing: self-alignment. That's the key. It's to align yourself in mind, body, and soul, so they're not like at war with each other. This doesn't mean you have to be the strongest. This doesn't mean you have to be the smartest. This doesn't mean you have to be the most happy. But your heart, mind, and body have to not be fucking with each other. They have to not hate each other. They have to not be at war with each other. They have to be in coherence, like a chord, like a harmonic coherence. So it's really about alignment. That's the key to speeding up your frequency past, dense states, past bipolar, to the actual superposition. The Ubermensch position is to increase your frequency. To increase your frequency is increase your alignment. The more you're aligned, the better things will work out. What's your take on that? Like, self-alignment.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That is kind of, that's why the recovery thing also has a triangle.
Yeah.
It's
mind, body, soul.
And then and then they say something along the lines of like God, fellowship, self.
In nature, the triangle is like the most stable shape ever.
That's why this was pyramid. They're like, how do we get this thing to stay here? It's like, it's a most stable shape.
You know what?
And it just seems to occur naturally. And like, a lot of people like use like, there's a pyramid built in this place, and then there's a pyramid built in this place where these civilizations never actually were able to contact each other. So how they both do this? It must be aliens. I'm like, maybe people naturally just figure fucking pyramids out. Like, you have nothing else to do. You don't have fucking TikTok. You're gonna fucking play with bricks a little bit, and you're gonna figure some shit out. It doesn't have to be fucking aliens. These people had a lot of fucking time,
You ever heard of platonic solids?
Platonic solids, no.
Platonic solids?
Nope.
Platonic solids are it was definitely highly worshipped by the Pythagoras and his following and his cult, basically. So the idea, I'm pretty sure the idea of platonic solids is that there's certain shapes or certain forms that's just going to be consistent in all of nature. And not only are these specific shapes consistent in all of nature, but they also can be used allegorically or metaphysically, like metaphysically applied to things, to actually like not just to basically command reality, right? Just by understanding the actual metaphysical implications of geometry. Now, the triangle, like mind, body, and soul. That's a big thing. Like, you know what's, before we even got into any of the spirituality shit, like we always talked about it, right? Like when we got into drugs, like ecstasy, it's like it was an always interesting thought, like to do like ecstasy, shrooms, and acid, you know, because you got the ecstasy for the body, got the acid for the mind.
Yeah, we think of that. We also had an idea of like the three main fucking bands: Tool, Pussifer, and Perfect Circle. Perfect Circle's meant mind. Pussifer is body because it's just dancey, and Tool is soul.
Yeah. It's fun stuff. So mind, body, and soul alignment. So the reason why like mind, body, and soul acknowledgement is important,
but mostly like I guess the mind body just got to connect to the soul, and it'll feed both of them because like,
well, yeah, that's the biggest problem, right? Like, okay, let me start from like least difficulty to higher difficulty. Like the easiest thing is body because it's very observable. Like it's easy to like see like, oh, I just have to like not consume things that are bad for me. I just have to not do things that are bad for my body. You know, like we know
get cancer though.
But still, like you'll get significant.
Yeah, you're reducing your chances. Yeah. Physical death, you can't really do anything.
Also, not only that, when you take care of your body, you're less stressed. You get more sleep. You know, you drink more water. It's not just like not like less chance of cancer. You're probably gonna live a lot longer too. You know, so there's that. The body. Next is the mind. That's a little harder than the body because the mind is a little more ephemeral. Not ephemeral, I should say. It's a little more abstract. So like. The way
brain is part of body. We're talking about mind. That's beyond brain.
Well, yeah. I mean, the mind's generally produced by the brain. And the thing about the mind is that the mind is very clever. It's clever.
Well, I would talk about mind as consciousness.
What?
Consciousness.
No. Consciousness is the culmination of mind, body, and soul. But mind is really just ego. Mind is literally like the culmination of all your traumas, of your survival responses, of all your bad memories, so that it knows what to do to stay. Because your mind's main concern is staying alive, and it's going to do whatever it has to stay alive, whether that means avoiding bad people, or or avoiding like people that make you feel insecure, or avoiding like dangerous things. You know, like. That's mind, you know, like a mind will do that. But the thing is, the mind can be easily fooled. The mind is very easy to fool the mind. It's easy to trick someone to thinking something's good for them. Okay, and like that's trickier. So one of the biggest things though that really fucks up the mind isn't even any thoughts, isn't even like necessarily like ideas. What really fucks up the mind are beliefs, like the wrong beliefs. You know, like for example, let's say you just don't believe in a God. Let's say you don't believe in a soul because maybe you were conditioned that way. Maybe you were raised in an atheist family. That's going to fuck you up, dude. Like, I don't care what people say. Like, you know, you'll have atheists coming out of the world and say, oh, I'm an atheist and I live a great life. It's like, really? Do you really? You know, like.
I don't know. That's not for me to judge. I didn't really believe in I don't know. I guess somewhere deep down I did kind of believe it. I don't know. There was a in I keep quoting the fucking big book, you know, but the AA book, but it's like they say, you know, deep down in the heart of every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. It might be obscured by calamity or worldly clamors, but it's there.
Let me ask you something. How much gratitude can you truly adopt if you don't believe in a God and a soul? Because like ultimately you have to thank
something.
Yeah, you can't,
even if it's thinking life or the universe itself.
Because eventually everyone's going to be taken away from you at some point in time. So you can't let your gratitude end there. Eventually you're going to be left with like, what the fuck am I thanking? Who am I thanking? Oh, right. what the? Like,
Yeah, if you could sit there and actually just be grateful without having an object or a person to be grateful towards,
then what are you being thankful to?
or
Who are you
or
thanking?
if you want to go beyond, say, like the other day, like I thought my brother was dead, and I prayed, and I'm like, and I also like afterwards I prayed. I'm like, thanks, for thank you for my brother. And I realized I didn't have that gratitude until after I thought he was dead, and I realized like, oh, I really fucking miss him, And so and I had gratitude for him, and who was I thankful for? I was thankful for something bringing that person into my life. So who are you thanking? Yeah. You can't thank them for existing. They didn't cause themselves to exist.
Or like, let's say you're trying to recover and like they're saying like, dude, you got to be more appreciative of the things you have in your life, not like the things you don't have in your life. Otherwise, you're going to be a piece of shit forever, alcohol or no. And like you say thank you and say, oh, who are you thanking, by the way? You're thanking God. Right?
I don't know. Maybe you can just have gratitude without an object.
You can't. I would hope so.
You can have love without an object. Love doesn't need to be an object. It could just be. It's just a state of being. If you go like the fundamentals of
No. What I'm saying is like, let's say this. Like, I'm saying like, yes, you can have just gratitude with to nothing, with no object. But what happens is if you consistently practice gratitude just for its own sake, I believe that's going to lead you to God. Because eventually you're going to like contemplate it. You're going to rationalize. You're going to discern it. You're going to be like, wait a minute, who am I thanking? What exactly am I thinking every time I practice this gratitude? And that's going to make you tug on that string. And then you tug a little too hard and it's all of a sudden, like suddenly the...
Still, they shouldn't have done that to Job.
What?
Job, whatever the fuck they want to call him in the Bible.
The one who had to kill his son?
Yeah, I think it might have been him. I don't know. Whatever.
Isaac?
That might have been a different story. I'm not sure if it's the same story, but the whole Job thing is like Satan was like,
yeah, I'm gonna take away everything from him. I'm gonna fuck his shit.
Be grateful for my shit. What an asshole. God is just, the Old Testament, God sounds like the most narcissistic psychopath. Like if you read the Old Testament, it's like, he did what? Why? That sounds like something a crazy person would do. Like it sounds like some like crazy like egotistical princess up in the sky that's like, no, yeah, like that's what God. And then the New Testament, and it's just like, you completely changed it here, didn't you?
No, so what I think, here's how it really went down. Like back in that time, they all believed in God, right? So they all believed whatever was happening was because of God. Now there was a very pious man named Job, and he was the most godliest of men. Like he prayed to God every day.
You don't know the story. Why are you telling it?
What do you mean I don't know the story?
Oh, okay.
It's a very well-known fucking story. Okay. So anyway, he prays to God. He was a very pious man. This is my interpretation of it. So he was a very pious man. Everyone knew this. He was like no one would ever think anything bad would happen to him because of how devoted this man was to God, right? So everyone knew him as Job, just the godliest man, like the most God worshipping, God fearing man. Like surely he is blessed. Surely God will bless him for this, right? We don't, let's assume we don't know anything about God's conversation or whatever, God's will, whatever. So we just know that this guy, Job, with his beautiful family, his beautiful life, worships God. And surely that's why his life is so beautiful. But then one day, everything starts fucking up for Job, and everyone around him is like, what the fuck is going on? Like we thought like surely he must be condemned or something. Like I wonder how Job's going to react to this. Surely he must like curse God now that all this fucked up shit is happening to him. And yet Job still said, no, I mean, yeah, all this fucked up shit is happening to me, but I still believe in God. I still love God. I'm still going to worship God. I'm still going to make my necessary sacraments to God and all that shit. And everyone's thinking like, what the fuck is wrong with him? Like, why would he still worship God? Look how shitty his life is. Surely he's doing something wrong. And yet he's still sitting there saying, I still love God. I'm going to worship God.
Also,
whatever.
it's like, worshiping God instead of things.
Okay. So remind me, how did it end though?
That's like you getting like, it's like you loving your parent because they give you things instead of just loving them.
So when the story ended the way they did, we don't know for sure if that's what God's intention was, but you could assume it was, because if you believe already that everything happening is God's will, and then that happened to Job, and Job still prayed to God, and Job got the outcome he got, everyone around him is like, Yeah, I guess this was like God was testing him. I guess literally God was testing Job. So that's how they interpreted it as it was happening, because at that time already everything was already because of God. So I think like that's how that story came to be. Like as long as people worship God, God is real. That's what that tells me, honestly. Like God is literally, he's as real as we make him, honestly. Even in a biological cycle, materialist.
See, even like my fucking ego mind can't, like, it cringes every time someone says him, which is crazy because I say it. I even have to read it. Okay, we turned our will and our lives over to the care of him and his, and I say it because that's how it's read. But they also just came out the plain language big book.
Oh man,
I want to see that because it's gonna be fucking shitty. A lot of people though, a lot of people are actually. I'm surprised in how many full-grown adults are like the dog went, and I'm like, did you like? I dropped out of fucking high school and I didn't pay attention. I have mental problems and I drank in fucking high school, and I can fucking read and I didn't pay attention. What happened? How do you not know how to read?
I would say God is the Father.
And that is judgmental of me.
I would say God is truly.
I think they're stupid or something. That's a judgment I'm making. My brain, even though I think I know the judgment's wrong. I am going to assume that they are less intelligent than me because I know, like it's hard not to.
Wait, what are you saying? Like who are we judging?
I hear somebody who reads like that, automatically I assume they're less intelligent.
Reads like what?
Wrong. It might be wrong.
Reads like what?
Like the dog went to, like, I'm like, you're fucking 48 years old. What happened? It's just out. But that confuses me when that happens. Like, I'm like, do you really need to be taught? I can't remember how I figured out how to read. I feel like I did it. I just read. I don't know. It was never complicated. I don't remember it ever being a complicated thing for me that I had to. Math was just fucking tedious and shitty.
Do you know why I'm good at reading, writing, and orating? It's because the boomers taught me English. The fucking boomers. They knew what the fuck was up with the English language. These Gen Xers don't know what the fuck they're doing teaching these kids how to speak and read.
So the dudes who came here and they were like around in the 80s suck at that, like integrating into English. Like,
no, they just suck at teaching. The boomers knew how to teach, and also they delved more deeply into literacy. Like the boomers read more. They were just better, more well read. Gen X spent most of their years in fucking front of the TV and movie screens.
Yeah, I guess maybe. But you think about it, like with the internet, everyone's reading so much. You're texting, internet, emails. So you have to have some kind of literacy to be able to everything. To go online, you have to be able to read and write. Typing is writing.
When you're online, all you're doing is reading shit written by other people who don't know how to fucking write and don't know like that piss poor grammar and don't have proper reading comprehensions. It's the blind leading the blind. Everyone's
different though.
What do you mean?
But I must say I do judge people by the way they word things when they comment on shit like that. Like I can tell, I'm like, oh, that person's a dumbass and shit like that. I realize I am a judgmental, even though I know it's like bad or wrong, and I might be wrong about it. I still can't help my mind jumping if I pass somebody or see something. Like, I hate when somebody says, "Oh, I don't judge." It's like, yeah, you do. If you see, you have to make a judgment call on everything, or you're going to die. Judging is not a bad thing. You have to make judgment.
Yeah, you could make judgments. That doesn't mean you have to like feel like superior because of your judgments. You could just say, I'm observant, like
wrong judgments, yeah, obviously.
Or you could just be like, to observe without judgment. That's the highest form of intelligence. That's what I try to do anyway. I try to observe without judgment. Just like this is what's in front of me. Like this is what I'm looking at. This is what you've presented to me. I don't have to judge it. I'm just telling you. Because most of the time, it's being observant seems like being judgmental when you're really just like telling the truth. Like I'll tell people, it's like, we've been talking for 2 hours and literally all you've been doing for the past 2 hours is bitching at me about your problems, and they're gonna take that as, what are you judging me? I'm like, I'm not judging you. I'm literally telling you.
This is what is happening.
Exactly. So, like, just from telling the truth seems like judgment sometimes,
Well, that is a judgment, but it's a judgment that's based on like evidence, I guess.
Or it's just the reality of the situation. That's what they did. That's what they chose to do with their energy, Yeah. Judgment. To observe without judgment. That's a tricky thing, though. Well, it helps for me. Like, you know, this is why spirituality is like unlocks the key to like all this higher minded shit. To observe without judgment. Let's say you believe in a soul and you view everyone as the same soul living different lives in different bodies. Why would you judge them? What's there to judge? Like, if I saw like some cracked out idiot, I'd be like, well, you know, that's just their soul. That like their eternal soul, the real them, is a lot wiser and a lot more knowing than this human body.
The paradox is you are seeing something in them that you don't like within yourself, and it's annoying the shit out of you.
What if you knew that? What if you actually internalized that truth? Then you wouldn't have to judge people, because you knew that you would know that they really have no bearing on your happiness at the end of the day. It's all you. So it's like you don't have to judge them. From like, then,
me and my mom get into like, we annoy each other sometimes with our own, because we have like some kind of mental thing where we freak out easily, like, oh my god. And when I do it, she's like, can you just chill out? And when she does it, I'm freaked out and it bothers me. But we both do it on our own, but we get annoyed at each other when we do it, you know, because we see it in ourselves, and we don't like that part. We don't like that. We're like, yeah, you know, I don't like that. But when I see it in someone else, it annoys me, you know, or when somebody sees it in you, it annoys the shit out of them. It's because they got it too. If you spot it, you got it. It sounds fucking cliche and stupid, but it's true. If you spot it, you got it. And it's a good thing to live, boy. Like, bye. You know, that guy seems like this. Like, well, somewhere in you, there's that. That part, that guy is in you too. Somewhere deep down, and you don't like that part of yourself, and the only way you're going to be able to integrate it and go through that shadow is to accept that you are also that. You are also that murderer in some way, shape, or form. You're also that piece of shit. You know, you're also that drunk or drug addict. You know, you somewhere in you, but it's easy, in you can empathize with everyone. But
there's a really easy fix for that. Like, for me, when I make quote unquote judgment calls, like, you know, like I'll introduce my friend, a mutual friend to a friend, and then once we split up, I'll be like, he's a sociopath, but you know what? At the end of the day, he always keeps his word. That's not like, so, because if you tell the truth about something like a negative quality and you back it up with a sincere, equally positive quality, that means you're actually aware of how things really work. For every bad quality you see in a person, there's probably an equally positive quality within them somewhere. You may not see it, you may not understand it, or be able to like really spot it, but it's there, whether you wanted to believe it or not. You know, like, no one's pure evil. In fact, like, as if a person who's really, really doing evil shit and has the power to, is also probably doing some profoundly good shit too. You know, probably. Like, we all like to think, oh no, there's guys that just do pure evil. No, if anything, the more evil he is on the outside, the more unwilling you're going to be willing to look at their good sides, because it's a very potent thing, right? That's how bias works. Now, you know, if you understand that about people and you make judgments, so next time you want to say some fucked up shit about someone, also try to say something equally good about them. Like, oh, this person's a raging alcoholic, but you know what? You could trust them with anything. You could trust them with your life. You know, like, or say like, this person is like, they complain all the time, but you know what? At the end of the day, they actually do something about their complaints. You know, it's like you gotta be able to do that. Like, for every negative judgment you have to make, if you're truly open-minded, then you'll also look for a good quality to balance it out. You know, you have to. Otherwise, you're not being fair.
I think that's a big part of the homophobia thing. If you're that freaked out about like gay people, it's probably you're seeing something in yourself, in them, that you don't want to fucking face. You don't want to think that you might be a little gay, so you're just like, get the fuck away from me, you fucking queer, you know, like, you're freaked out about, because you're angry, because you know it's somewhere in you, and you want to beat the shit out of that guy, because you want to beat the shit out of that yourself, of that part of yourself, that piece of shit that your dad, you would fucking hate, you know? That's definitely where, I'm thinking that's pretty much where homophobia comes from. Otherwise, it just wouldn't bother you, you know?
Unless
like, to make you angry, like, it could not be your thing, yeah. That's me. It's not my thing. It doesn't make me angry, you know. But like, if somebody who makes him like violently angry, it's like, dude, what are you afraid of? Are you like, how gay are you really in the inside that you're fighting it so hard right now? You know, they think they're seeing something that they hate in somebody that's in themselves, and they can't accept it. You know.
Or maybe like they grew up in a culture where they were severely punished for expressing any kind of like
flamboyant, you know, anything. Yeah. Yeah, then I wanted to fucking, you know, or like I wanted to do ballet in fucking high school or some shit, you know. My parents were like, "No, that's for fucking queers."
And beat the shit out of me. yeah, exactly. But you know what? I think yeah, you're right. I never had a problem with gay. I never once had a problem with gay. In fact,
I know people who are just like, yo, fucking like, yo, I beat that guy fucking looks out, beat the shit out of him, bro. I'm like, dude, what's wrong? It's like, what happened? Like, what the fuck you were afraid of? Like nobody's gonna come up and touch your fanny. Like, that's not how fucking.
Honestly, I think I've slept around with like too many women to ever give a fuck about what gay people will ever do. In fact, if I never worry about sex ever again, it's not like I'll ever feel like I missed out in life. You know, I'm serious. Like, I realize like I probably fucked like. I'm only using my dad as an example because he's my immediate family member. He's like supposedly the male that is my proto whatever fucking that I'm supposed to look up to. But I'm pretty sure I've had sex with like 10 times as many women as he has in his entire life or ever will. You know, so it's like I think about that and I'm like, you know, when it comes to having more, like, oh, what do I want? Fuck more women? Why? Why would I need to want to fuck more women? I've fucked more women than most guys will probably get to in their lifetime. I'm not even saying I fucked that many. I'm pretty sure like rock stars probably fucked like thousands of women. I can't say I've done that.
They could probably only remember like 50 out of all of them, though, you know?
Dude, it's the same way for me. Like,
if you do it all the time, it's like, what, did I even do it? Like,
no, I mean, I'm probably somewhere in like triple digits.
Like, if you smoked a joint once in your fucking life, you'll remember that for the rest of your life. Or if you smoked it 5 times, like, yeah, that time on that trip. If you smoke a joint every fucking day for 10 years, you're not gonna remember those fucking joints.
Yeah,
you know, it's the same fucking deal.
Yeah, so that's why I've always never felt like threatened by anyone's sexuality because I'm like, I you know, it's not even like I'm bored of it. It's not even because that's a big problem too. Like, let's say you fuck so many women and you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna try fucking some dudes. Fuck so many dudes and eventually you're like a Hollywood celebrity and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna fuck some kids. You know, like that's how.
Yeah, I don't know if I had parents that were like, don't do that gay shit. Like, if that were like that, I might have ended up being like, yeah, well, I don't want to be fucked, you know. And it would come from a place inside of me that I think like I don't want my parents to not accept me, so I have to fight anything that's gay within me and anyone else outside.
Wait, your parents were like that?
No, I'm saying if mine were, you know, they'd be like, I'd be like homophobic or something if I was raised like that, kind of, you know.
I think my dad's a little homophobic, to be honest. However, he never really like, he never like projected any like fear of gayness onto me. He was never like, "What are you, gay, son? What's the matter, son? Do you have a boyfriend, son? What are you a fag?" You know, like he never. My
parents are always like, you know, like cool. Like they were like, my dad would fuck me. He's like, Brendan, we still love you. It's okay that you're gay. And I'm like, Dad, I'm not gay. He's like, Brendan.
Oh God, Brendan, that's so funny.
Brendan, come on. It's okay. We love you no matter what. And like so I wasn't gay, but like I've had gay thoughts before, but I'd never like about them, you know. I'm like, and they pass and I'm like, I guess it's really not my thing, you know. Then I found females and I liked them more. So like, but like I never felt like I would be, you know, if I did express any gayness or anything like that I would be like looked down upon. So I never had that. I don't know what it would be like to have if I thought my family would think that I was wrong if I was gay or something. I would probably be different. I would probably be very resistant towards anyone else who was that also, you know, because I wouldn't like to face that's a possibility for somebody like me, you know.
I think the only reason why I would know that I'm my dad is homophobic is because he only mentioned it once. He was just like, I also found out he's racist, but I won't mention that part. He was like,
all Asians are, right?
He was just like, son, I just hope at the end of the day you bring home a woman and not a man. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's how.
That's homophobic. Mm-hmm. That is blatantly just. Don't be gay, son.
Yeah.
That's all I ask. Like, that's fucked up, you know.
Yeah. But you know what?
And if you were gay, that would have fucked your fucking like. You probably would have killed yourself or something, man. How many kids? No, it's a fucking real thing. This kid's just killing themselves because dad was like, "Make sure you bring home a woman, son. I love you." And they're like, and all they heard was, "I actually hate who you really are. So if you ever let me know who you really are inside, I will fucking disown you, you piece of garbage." And they live like that for long enough, and they kill themselves, you know, or they muster up the strength to be like, "Fuck you, Dad."
Luckily, though, I wasn't gay, so I was able to tell him, "It's like, don't worry, Dad. I won't. I'm pretty sure."
I would think I would be upset if they told me that too, because then I would think, so if I was, that means they would just think less of me. You know, like that would be upsetting. You know.
Yeah, it would be upsetting. I'm sure I would be very upset if I was gay in that situation. So I sympathize for all the gay dudes out there who are.
My family is totally gay as fuck, so we have a pride flag out there. So. Which must be weird with the conservative neighbors everywhere. Like
no, it's gonna be good for the fucking the stream we're about to do after this, because he specifically said he needed people with like a liberal bent, and that you fit the bill perfectly. You call yourself an anarchist, but I think you do fit the liberal bill.
Oh great, am I gonna be called names and libtard and shit like that?
No, not at all. The fact is the guy he wants actually, like, because he's very eloquent apparently, and the guy he wants to talk about the election with, who's on the stream, is also.
Yeah, but I don't know shit about Kamala or anything, because that's where my anarchist stands in. I'm not even into the politics. I don't believe in that. If we vote for this,
he just doesn't want you to support Donald Trump, like eye roll moment. But I
don't support anyone, so yeah, that includes Donald Trump.
Yeah, same here actually. I think me and you are kind of like that. Someone tried to call me an anarcho-communist. I was like, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to subscribe to any of these ideologies. I want to walk the sacred path, bitch.
Back, son. I'm a lightweight anyway. You know?
I was like, I want to fucking walk with God. You know. You know what's fucked up though? Like the more spiritual I start to like live, like as in like the less I do. Like you know, don't go partying, don't go drinking, don't go fucking. Like the more I decide, you know what? I'm gonna stay home and journal. I'm gonna stay home and read. I'm gonna stay home and like. I don't know, look up some documentaries about like sacred texts and shit, whatever. You know, like the more I do that, the more solitude. I mean, it's not like I regret it, because, you know, like it's just my choice. I'm like, I'm not alone because I have to be. I'm alone because I'm a freak apparently who's really interested in like exploring soul and all that shit. But yeah, it's like I realize like I really don't want to like cohort with. I'm not saying this isn't against women in general. It's just maybe it's the life I've lived up till now. And I realized how unsavory, I don't even want to talk shit about like my crowds like that. It's just, I'm finding a lot more fulfillment in solitude than like in crowds lately. Don't you feel that like when you're more like, I mean, when you go to meetings, that's different. But then you're out of the meetings and then you get to like really like experience shit on your own and then apply what you learn from the steps or from the teachings as they happen in your life, and you're like, hey, that shit is right because this is happening right before my eyes. Holy shit.
Well, that's the whole point. If you just go to a meeting and like there's
that's not a social game. That's not a team game. That's literally just you living your life, and then you see the teachings resonate, and suddenly you're like, oh my god, this is true.
The meeting's
shit.
Almost like a huddle up for real life. So you get in with everyone
like a
else.
lodge. It's a lodge.
Okay,
for
we're
like
gonna
explorers.
go back out into the real world soon. So keep your fucking spiritual hats on, and we just fucking go back out into the evil world. You know,
it's like,
and then we form again. It's like, okay, whew. Okay, I didn't drink again during the evil fucking reality, but now we're back in the room. And now we're going to talk about it and talk about what we're going to do next when we go back out into the scary, dark, evil world that makes us want to drink, you know?
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot.
All right, so what that reminds me of, back in the olden days, before there was like such developed science and all this shit, like contemporary science as we know it, it was a magical world. And the tradition was you have the adept, the journeyman, go off into the wilderness, leave his cozy little village or tribe or whatever. He's like, go forth, travel the lands, go to different lodges, go from lodge to lodge, basically group to group. You know, go from lodge to lodge, learn their ways, learn their magics, learn their sciences, learn their alchemy, learn their traditions, their practices, and then go to the next one. And then share with them what you learned from the previous one, and then they'll teach you new ones in exchange. And then keep going like on and on and on and on and on. And when it comes to like, you know, the meetings, they really are their own lodges. You know, like you said, they're hubs. Just like that's what a mage's lodge was. You know, a magic, like it was dudes. Because before we lived in a unified globalist scientific world, everyone lived in a magical world. Like no matter how different their magic was, they all still believed in gods. They believed in spirits. They believed in this shit. So it's like, you know, when you were traveling from like lodge to lodge, you were literally going from like mage house to mage house. You know, the more connected you were to the higher powers, the more control you had over your reality. It's like it's like, oh, our village's priests can make food sprout from the ground, and they just happen to be connected with like the cosmic patterns, and they pay attention, they study to God, to they break it down to the point where it's like, oh yeah, plant the seeds at this time, at this day, and then this will grow.
It's also a place to huddle together for when a new person comes into the room too.
And
we're there. We're like, okay, we got you.
Yeah.
We're like catch.
Yeah, and then even if one of you split off, you still find yourself in another place, and guess what? They have their own lodges, they have their own meetings in their groups and things. Like if you ended up moving to like Salt Lake City, you could find a meeting in Salt Lake City, right?
Yeah, anywhere in the world.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like I can go to Japan and find a meeting if I really try.
That'll be fucking crazy, right?
I might not understand what the fuck's going on, but I'll be there.
I mean, people. It makes sense why people would call AA a cult. Because it is it is a little culty, but I look at martial arts schools and they're also culty. Like if I went to like a different city or Japan or Thailand, I'm pretty sure I could find like a dojo that.
Yeah, but it's a cult where they don't really gotta convince you to stay.
Some cults are more culty than others.
Well, the thing about the AA cult is they don't have to convince you to stay, because you can just be like, fuck this, I'm leaving. They'll be like, okay. And then 3 months later, you end up back in there, and you're just like all fucked up, and you're just like, I'm back. They're like, yeah, you're an alcoholic. That's why. We don't have to keep you here. You're just gonna keep coming back in here, or you're gonna die. That's what they think. That's the mentality, because it's like, we don't need to convince. And it even says in the AA book, if they don't believe they're an alcoholic, tell them to go out and drink. Tell them to try some controlled drinking. Tell them to try it more than once. It won't be long before they get a good idea of their condition. Once you've read the book to them and let them know about what the condition of alcoholism, that's a progressive disease, that there's no matter what they try to do, they cannot stop or moderate, that they have to be convinced that they can never drink normally again. Shit. And they are not convinced, they can't go through with it unless they're convinced. So you have to tell them to go try.
I just realized we gotta wrap this up so we could do the stream. But this is a great talk for the Terrorisk. And
so if you're wondering whether you're an alcoholic, go try some controlled drinking. Just try to go to your nearest bar room, try to start drinking, have a couple drinks, and then stop abruptly. Try it more than once. It'll be worth a trip to the detox to find out that you have a fucking problem.
All right. See you guys. Good night.
And are going to get pancreatitis.
We love you.
We love you.